healthy has a variety of different looks, and it isn't always going to look the same on anybody, but specifically, actually, it's not going to look the same on that individual at all times in their life.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Carbs podcast. I'm Jenna Fisher and I'm here with Riley Beatty. Today we have a very special guest on to answer some questions. Laura, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, thanks for having me. My name is Laura Ghiacy. I am a personal trainer. I am from the UK, as you might be able to tell from my accent, but I am based in LA.
We're so excited to have you on, Laura. I know you and I know each other from a couple years back in LA, but so great to reconnect with you and then chat all about nutrition, myth busting, and fitness today's podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
We're thrilled to have you on. Before we jump into some of our questions, we do a high and low segment where we just share a little bit about personally what's going on in our week, the good part and maybe the part that we wish had gone a little bit differently. Riley, can you kick us off today?
Yeah, so I'll start off with my high for the week. I know that we have previously done a pass or smash fall series, and we definitely passed on pumpkin spice. Not really my favorite, but I do have a new fun fall drink that I'm loving right now. Sounds like a very basic drink, and I've actually never really liked like a skinny vanilla latte, but an iced skinny vanilla latte with a pumpkin cold foam on the top has been the move. So that's my high week. I have a new fall drink. I can participate in the fall festivities. And then my low is I can't get it every single day because it's $7 now to get a drink at Starbucks. So that's my highs and lows for the week.
Starbucks can get you like that.
I know I have to limit to myself to like twice a week.
And now I'm intrigued because I've not partaken much in like the pumpkin cold foam. I get very overwhelmed at the Starbucks drive-thru, and I'm like, oh, I'll just go for the basics. So now I need to try this one. High for the week. Oh, I'll start with my low because, and this is a bit of a Debbie Downer. I'm fully aware about this. I'm not big on Halloween, so I'm like, oh, okay, we're there. And if you've been in LA for Halloween, you know, it gets a little lawless, and it's like, it's just not my vibe. So, and I'm British. We don't do Halloween very well. So I'm like, my low might have to be Halloween. I know that's very antisocial, but that might have to be my low. But my high would mean then sticking with the fall theme and the holiday theme, that because Halloween is coming out the way, that means peppermint season is coming in. And I am big on peppermint season, right? Like, it's not about the pumpkin spice. I'm sorry. I know there's probably people screaming at their phones or whatever they're listening to this on, but I am here for the peppermint season that's around the corner.
You can sign me up for peppermint season too.
Okay.
Same. So excited.
My low, I've shared pretty consistently that my dog George has not been feeling well. We finally figured out that he has an ear infection, so that's what's been going on with him. So we know, which is good, but that poor dog, trying to put eardrops in his ear is like wrestling a baby alligator. It is not easy, and he runs away, and it makes me feel so bad when I pull out his little medicine eardrops and he knows what's happening. So that's my low. My high for the week, I actually took a gamble and I purchased a perfume online from somebody that I've been following who's like a makeup person online. And I usually I'm not going to buy something unless I can test it out in the store beforehand, but she released a trial size and I was like, okay, I can do that. I can spend money on a trial size of perfume. It is the best smelling perfume I have ever purchased in my life. It smells so good. It was still expensive even in a trial size, but I am sold. It was the right move. So it played out good for me.
What a great high. That is such a great gamble, but it paid off.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut and go for it.
I love it. So Laura, we have a couple questions for you today. You're actually the first personal trainer that we've had on the podcast. So we have lots of questions today about fitness and, you know, some of the myth busting also that you do, because I love your Instagram and your TikToks. I think the last one I saw that you did was, is a Lenny and Larry's cookie healthier than a McChicken? So we're excited to jump into some myth busting and then also hear about the fitness space.
Yeah, fun. Yes, those are always, those videos go down very well in this household. I'll say that as much.
Our first question kind of goes along that, which is, can you explain your approach to fitness and how it differs from traditional diet and weight loss programs?
Sure. I think, you know, especially when you start out as a personal trainer, I trained in the UK, but I'm going to assume that it's very similar. There's this very kind of like cookie cutter approach to what a personal trainer should do. it often, there's this mindset that exercise revolves around weight loss and, you hear it a lot these days, like calorie deficit, etc., that sort of thing. And I don't, whilst I may have started out as a personal trainer in that way because I thought that was the only way to be a personal trainer, it's kind of evolved now to no longer really be about weight loss. That's not to say I don't have clients that do want to lose weight. We have body autonomy. One can do whatever they want with their body. But my focus more so as a trainer is, what else do you want to achieve? Okay, we hear about weight loss so often, and it's such a common narrative that there's 99 reasons to exercise, and weight loss doesn't have to be one of them. And so that's kind of my ethos when it comes to movement and exercise. And I often use the term movement because when people hear exercise, they think like, oh God, like, I don't know, burpees and, feeling ill after a workout, etc. And again, doesn't have to be that way. And so that my ethos is, okay, what else do you want to achieve from exercise? Whether it's, improving how much you can carry from the car to the front door, whether it's maybe alleviating some pain, whether it's focusing on mobility, flexibility, etc. So it's kind of my ethos is less about weight loss and more about working with our body rather than against it, despite that sounding incredibly woo-woo.
I think there's a lot of parallels with the work that you're doing and the work that we're doing. I can definitely relate because when I first became a registered dietitian, there was a lot of focus on like weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. And through our training, weight loss is a big section of the education that we get. So you think this is what people want, this is what's good for people. And as you kind of start to navigate the space, you start to realize that, again, right, people have body autonomy, they can decide what they want to do with their bodies, but there is just so much other benefit from eating healthy, having, enjoyable movement that sometimes I think goes lost, and especially in our training.
Totally. And I think in mass media and social media, we're fed this idea of what healthy looks like. This is healthy, and anything outside of this one image of what we're told is healthy is anything but healthy. And I think another part of what needs to be incorporated into definitely personal training is healthy has a variety of different looks, and it isn't always going to look the same on anybody, but specifically actually it's not going to look the same on that individual at all times in their life. And so I think, like you say, it's about like realizing through whether it's research, reading, social media, etc., that healthy has a completely different look on everybody. And that seems to be missed a little bit, I think, when it comes to personal training and maybe in registered dietitian training as well, because it's not what it's made out to be.
I work with a lot of athletes, and they're always going for this look, right? Mm-hmm. Every single sport has it. Everybody has their own idea or their perspective or their approach to this look. And a lot of the times, right, we're so focused on getting this look that we're sacrificing other parts of our life.
Totally. And I think that look also becomes fashion because that look changes over different decades. If you go back and you look at like, not even just athletes, but women in general, if you look at the 80s, it was different in the 90s when you had like Kate Moss, and then 2000s, it was, I don't know who, Giselle or whoever it was. And that intertwines into it as well. This idea of like fashion and what is attractive for women plays a part in what is healthy for women. I'm using air quotes, and I think that has a massive effect on our own body image as well. And our healthiest, and this is a big learning curve for me personally, my healthiest was not my thinnest. And that can be a really big pill to swallow at times because we're told that thin is best, thin is healthy, thin is, attractive, etc., etc. And so when going against the grain of mass media, etc., it's a really big pill to sometimes swallow that. But that's kind of what I kind of focus on in training is, one's healthy, whoever I'm working with, is going to be vastly different to my healthy, and your healthy of 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, however long it was, is different to your healthy now because your lifestyle is different now, So I think there's a big kind of mental, not that I'm in any way qualified to deal with one's mental health, but there's a kind of a big mental healthness capacity to it as well.
I think that's something I see a lot is individuals who come to meet with Riley and I for the first time because they do have a goal in mind of looking a specific way, and they want to look the way they looked when they were 18 or when they were at the peak of their athletic performance or something like that, and kind of working with them to understand that health looks different throughout our lifetime, and like we'd have different health goals maybe throughout our lifetime too. But I love that you really focus on like movement and functionality like across the lifespan. I think that's so important because we do want longevity. We want to be able to like walk up and down stairs and sit down, stand up, like when we are a little bit older. And if we've, you know, potentially haven't focused on that functional movement earlier in life, like we might be harming ourselves for later on. But sometimes it's hard to like focus on the later on or what's to come.
Totally. And that's even a big part of it too, is like the zooming out. Is very often clients will come to me and they'll be like, I have a best friend's wedding that I want to look really good for in 3 months' time. And it's like, okay, cool. You could go to that wedding today, you'd still have a great time and look great. But let's zoom out a little bit, okay? Because what do you want to achieve in, okay, 3 months' time, we got that one. What about 6 months' time, a year's time, 5 years' time? Where do we see ourselves? And I think it's hard to do that zooming out when society, mass media, social media, etc., friends, family, whoever, put such a emphasis on how we look now, and also potentially, like you said, how we looked when we were 18, or, you know, at the peak of our, like, quote unquote athleticism, etc. And so yeah, so it's a tough one to zoom out.
It is really hard. A lot of the things that we talk about, or I guess a conversation I've been having a lot lately, is about bone health, because we work with a lot of, you know, women and men in their early 20s, you know, early 30s, and this is when we're hitting our peak bone mass. And this is so important for setting a good foundation for later in life, like when we're postmenopausal women and different things like that. And what we're doing right now really, really affects that. But there is a lot of, you know, diet culture affecting this group of people. And even when you look at the research, a BMI with somebody that is less than 19, so a BMI less than 19, shows poor bone health outcomes. But the drive and the pressure to be thin in our society goes against this. So what are we supposed to do?
Totally. And I think I used to kind of go around this narrative of like finding the non-sexy reasons to exercise, like, you know, bone health, etc. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, no, you know what? There's nothing sexier than strong bones, because nobody wants to be like Jello when they, I don't know, in their 40s or whatever, because they didn't weight train properly or whatever, and they didn't eat or fuel properly. So I've changed my perspective on that. I'm like, you know what's sexier than, like, you know, looking lean, quote unquote, whatever social media says? It's bone health.
I love it.
There is, right, this pressure to be thin, right? There is this, you know, what look that we're trying to go for in our society. We've just kind of chatted about, you know, this might not be the best way to approach things, but a lot of individuals, you know, are interested in reaching this goal. So how do you work with maybe clients, work with other personal trainers in the space, and help educate and encourage them to prioritize health and performance over societal pressures to be thin, to have a certain body size?
Good question. It takes very gentle kind of a conversation, because I find that especially some of, again, in fact, everybody that I work with, we all are affected by what we think we're meant to look like, whether we realize it or not. You know, at different times in our life, our body image does affect us and how we view ourselves in comparison to others. So it kind of differs. I have quite an outward approach to, like, you know, if one is looking for weight loss advice, I'm not the person to come to. That being said, like I said, if somebody does want to lose weight, we can talk about that. And that can be a goal, but it doesn't need to be the one and only goal. And so I try and get folk to focus on, okay, if weight loss is one of your goals, let's talk about non-aesthetic goals that you can have. And like I said, they might be, you know, improving strength, improving mobility. So kind of shifting the focus away from weight loss. And within that comes this idea of like working through one's body image. So I have a couple of clients, you know, if they've got a birthday or a wedding and very naturally, or a vacation, very naturally people will say, oh, well, I need to do like a really extreme diet for the next 3 weeks or whatever it is for this event. And it's about like working back from that and working with somebody and saying, you can do that, but how is that going to affect your mental health if you're measuring all of your food all of the time? Or how, you know, do you have capacity in your daily life to be doing that? If you've got 2 or 3 kids running around, you've got a job that you're doing, etc. is that going to have a positive effect, really doing this crackdown on your diet, quote unquote? And so kind of working through what's common but not normal, because a lot of the diet stuff that like you see, it's really common to, want to lose weight before a wedding or lose weight before a vacation or only embark on personal training because you want to lose weight. It's really common. It doesn't have to be that way, and it isn't all. Some of these things aren't always normal. So kind of like breaking those down with folks that I work with, and kind of being very understanding, because we all see and are affected by celebrities or whoever it is that we see, and so it's being understanding of how people feel about themselves, but also saying it doesn't have to be this way.
Being in a nutrition or fitness industry, we get a lot of people that do come to us with that initial goal of like weight loss or weight reduction. One of the things that I always try to mention is that can be a secondary goal or something that happens secondary to like something that we're working towards that is functional or, longevity approach or something like that, or even learning or understanding, does, strength training impact my bone health and things like that. Encourage people to find a goal that isn't so much outwardly focused.
Totally. Social media has really simplified weight loss. I find that, there's a lot of shouty personal trainers on TikTok. They're like, oh, it's just calorie deficit. It's always men that are shouting, I will point out. Like, it's always men. But they were shouting about calorie deficit. And it's hard to also break down that it's not that simple. We all have different genetics, hormones, age, etc., and stress levels, all of that. And so that also plays a huge part in one's body composition. And that can also be a very big pill to swallow, that it isn't just calorie deficit and it isn't discipline. You hear people talk about a lot, and it's like, yeah, okay, not really. And so I think that also plays a big part in kind of the gray area that comes with kind of body composition, diet, etc.
What's happened is we've taken a very complex topic and we've tried to simplify it, which it is actually can be very simple on an individualized level, but what we've done is we tried to simplify it for a group of people, right? Like all three of us on this call have completely different energy needs and completely different workouts, completely different body types, body sizes, different things like that. We need completely different plans, but social media, we're all on social media. It has pros, it has cons, but it's tried to simplify it just exactly like you said.
Yeah, I find that everybody wants to be like the next, I don't know if they want to be the next viral person, but they want like that kind of, social media is so quick, it's so instant that everybody wants like that simplicity, I find, and the gray area in amongst of it when it comes to, as you said, individuality, what our different stages in lives. It doesn't go as viral.
I saw this statistic, and maybe because you're on TikTok, you might be able to say if this is true or false, but I saw the statistic that the wrong information is more likely to go viral.
That would not surprise me in the slightest. Yeah, I can believe that.
I always hear from athletes like, I heard I should take this supplement or eat this food to, get this performance goal. And I'm always like, it is 1,000 times simpler for me to write an Instagram post or make a 5-second reel about eating a certain food than you coming into our program, working with us for months, sitting down, talking for an hour every single week, talking about your individualized plan. Nobody wants to hear that they have to do that. They want to hear that they can eat cottage cheese and that they'll have a six-pack.
Oh, the cottage cheese and mustard. I was like, really? We're like back in the 1980s with cottage cheese. Okay, it's come back around.
But did you see the cottage cheese ice cream?
That I tried to make. It was awful.
It didn't look good, but I don't know. I can't bash it until I try it.
And and it's so funny. So many people come in the comments and they're like, no, you did it wrong. And I'm like, I didn't do it wrong. It's just cottage cheese ice cream. Like,
I'm all for trying new recipes, but when it comes to ice cream or desserts or things like that, like I think we should just leave those be. They are good the way they are. They have, all food fits. We can find a way to fit that in your fueling plan. We don't need to make cottage cheese into something else. If you like cottage cheese as is, cool, great, love that for you. But we also don't need to change your cottage cheese to be ice cream.
I'm a big cottage cheese fan on its own. But then I remember somebody was like, oh, have you tried the cottage cheese cookie dough? And I was like, no, I won't be doing that one either.
I saw that one. I had a couple people go after that one. I'm also, though, that, like, this is kind of like my approach that I take is like, if you're eating something because you enjoy it, great. If you are making the cottage cheese ice cream because it is delicious and you love it, eat the cottage cheese ice cream. Please do it. Same thing with like PB2. Like I always get like, should I eat PB2 or peanut butter, that type of thing. I'm like, if you like PB2, you think it tastes delicious, eat it. Or maybe you're somebody that can't really, do a high fat load before training. PB2, great option. If you're using it or eating it because you're avoiding peanut butter or you're scared of peanut butter, that's a different story.
I had my PB2 phase back in the day, and I told myself that it tasted good, and then I was like, you know what, personally speaking, this is just watery peanut butter. It's not working out.
I did the same thing, and that's a hard thing probably for clients to do too, is they try to convince themselves that that is something that they actually enjoy, when in reality they are a little bit fearful, like Riley said, whatever reason, so they're avoiding the actual peanut butter. But if we take a step back and do some real reflection there.
Totally. And I think the same with like intermittent fasting. I had like a really actually awesome breakthrough moment with a client. She was doing intermittent fasting. She wouldn't eat till 11. And if you're not hungry before 11, that's cool. That's your prerogative. You don't need to eat. But she was kind of forcing herself to get through to the 11 o'clock. And I was like, hold on, like, you don't have to wait until 11 or whatever like time frame you're doing. She had this real eye-opening moment where she just was like, I'm going to have something to eat like at 8:30. And I was like, oh, hallelujah. Like, and that's that moment when you're like, okay, like it's getting there, 'cause you don't have to do these things. And I think we kid ourselves into thinking that PB2 or cottage cheese ice cream, or I'm not hungry before 11, but I'll just chug down loads of coffee or whatever that people are talking about. It's like, it's hard to get there, but once you figure out to work kind of with your body and listen to it and trust it, actually that's my cheat code.
So Laura, I know that Halloween is not your favorite holiday, but we have a little Halloween themed game for us to play. We love doing like a smash or pass segment. I don't know, it was on TikTok for a little bit, and we've been doing it on here, and we're having fun with it. So they might be all pass for you, but we would love to ask you a couple questions. Jenna and Laura, you guys can both answer. I'll ask the questions. The first one is pumpkin spice dog treats. I swear that this is a real thing. I was at the grocery store and I saw a pack of 12 greenies. If anybody has a dog, they're probably familiar with a greenie. Pumpkin spice greenies for $17. Pass or smash?
It's an immediate pass for me.
You know what? Knowing my fur baby, he would pass on those unless it's chicken or cheese. He's not having it.
I kind of like want to try it though, because I'm like, is it actually pumpkin spice? Do we like make it smell like pumpkin spice? Like, what is happening here?
I feel like I can envisage how that's going to smell, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to go down well.
Nope. If anybody's tried them and wants to report back, let me know. I think all of us are pass. What about candy corn? The candy of the season. Pass or smash?
I'm going to take a very controversial approach here. For me, it's a smash because it reminds me of my youth. And that's it.
Okay. Do you eat the entire piece of candy corn, or do you eat the flavors, right? Like the 3 colors?
Like break it and whole thing. I don't break it up.
I've never had candy corn. I put it on Threads the other day. I do still go on Threads. I was like, controversial opinion. I've never had candy corn. The comments, they were like, you have to try it, and then a total opposite. Oh my god, it's awful. And I was like, neat. Like, I'm not really being sold either way on this. Although Jenny, you might have sold me, because like I might feel like I now need to try it.
Riley, what are your opinions on candy corn?
I can eat like 1 or 2 pieces, and then I'm like done. I think I'm a pass though, because if you look at like the other candy that's available, I'm definitely always going with the other candy option, but that's just like my preference. So
Oh, that makes sense.
a pass. Sorry, Jenna, you're alone on this one.
That's okay. I will gladly be alone on this one.
If we were to dress up for Halloween, are we looking cute or are we going on theme? Are we looking like going for the looks, or are we going for the theme?
As someone who grew up in Colorado, so I always had to tailor my outfits to the inevitable snow that was going to happen. I am all about comfort and functionality in my costume.
I'm with you. I am comfort and minimal effort. This is me. And so if I can be comfortable, not cold, and not spend weeks trying to create this outfit, like I would be the ghost in the bedsheet tent. Like, that would be me, happily.
Yes. Same. Riley, though, circa like 2014, was definitely trying to look cute. Now I'm trying to figure out how many different ways I can wear pajamas as a costume. What about dressing up? Do you dress up the weekend before. Halloween this year is, I think, on a Tuesday, so a lot of people are going to be dressing up probably Halloween weekend. Pass or smash?
For me, it's a pass because I'm not a big dress up person. I want it to be as simple as possible. If I can buy one thing and put that on my body and that like whole thing is my costume, like, you know, the donut costume or like the taco, the hot dog, you know, whatever it is, like that's me, that's my costume. And I want to wear it one time and be good. Like I'm going to do that on Halloween. I'm not going to do that the weekend before. Definitely not going to do it the weekend after. It's a one and done for me.
I'm not a big dressed up person, but I did see the other day that you can buy this outfit that's just like a packet of Cheetos, and I was like, if I had to do an outfit, that would be me, because like you say, one and done, just put it on. It's comfy. I'm potentially warm, even though I'm in LA. It doesn't really get that cold, but that's me. But I don't even really do dress up. In fact, the last Halloween party we went to, my better half is very creative and did like this very elaborate like face paint situation. But it was so elaborate that when it came to my better half doing my face, we'd run out of time. So my better half like tried to do this like kind of like elaborate scar on my forehead, and I looked in the mirror. I was like, I just look like Harry Potter. Like I've just got the Harry Potter scar. This is it. And so I like rubbed it off. I just went to this Halloween party in jeans, no dress up. My better half looked incredible, and I was like, there, that's all you get. Like my better half. No, I wasn't here for the dress up.
That's so funny. I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you guys. I'm a big Halloween person. My mom is actually from the UK, like doesn't really get it, but I think my love for dressing up is similar to Jenna's like nostalgia with the candy corn, because my birthday is at the beginning of November. So growing up, we'd always have costume parties for my birthday because parents love it, because then their kids can wear their costume like multiple times. It's an easy party type theme. So I always dress up for Halloween, and I make Robbie, my husband, do it with me. So we always have a little Halloween costume. And this week, or I guess this year, we are dressing up the weekend before because we're going to a Halloween party. So gonna have to smash on the theme.
Do you have like a theme that like the pair of you like are in a theme, or are they like individual?
We always have a theme. Actually, last Halloween that we had in LA, this is when TikTok just started. So we were TikTok stars. And what happened is we went to a party, and Laura, you'll appreciate this because it's just so LA. Nobody thought we were in costume. People were like, why didn't you dress up? And we're like,
this is our costume.
This is our costume. Yeah. So that happened. But usually we're like Marvel. I'm like kind of a secret comic book person. So we always dress up like Marvel themed, except for that, the TikTok time.
Cute.
So I know we don't have too many Halloween fans here, but what about, do we decorate for Christmas before Halloween? Like, are we skipping Halloween? Smash or pass? Decorating for Christmas, getting into the Christmas spirit before Halloween.
We do not decorate for Christmas before Halloween, but that's also, I think, quite a British thing, because actually in the UK, typically, like you typically wait for Halloween and then you'd start kind of thinking about Christmas, because we don't have Thanksgiving. So, you know, and I've noticed people even like to pass Thanksgiving before they talk about any other holidays. We definitely let Halloween pass before any other holiday decor comes out.
I'm a pass on that because I love Thanksgiving and I want to give Thanksgiving all of the attention before I break out my Christmas decor. Christmas is my favorite, but I love Thanksgiving because it just reminds me, again, kind of one of the things that reminds me of my youth. I remember like big family dinners with like cousins and things like that. So pass for me.
It's going to be a pass for me too. I feel like you got to go one holiday at a time.
I also just need time to slow down. Like we don't need to jump from October all the way to New Year's.
I know. I cannot believe it. I feel like we already have our Christmas and Thanksgiving plans like already set. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's October. Laura, the holidays, are they busy for you? Do you get a lot of clients?
They can be a mixed bag. I feel like it alternates each year. So like last year, I had a lot of clients that kind of went away for like the holidays, and I feel like that's because previous years people really couldn't go away very much because of COVID. But the last year, a lot of people went away. Then this year, people that I'm speaking to, they're like, we did the family last year, we're not going anywhere this year. And so it kind of like swings to one degree to another. Weirdly, like January, I think people think January is like a big push for kind of health, fitness, you know, quote unquote gym memberships, etc. January's are pretty quiet for me. I'm like, oh, like people are still kind of like figuring out what they're doing and, you know, all of that. So the holidays can really vary. I think this year, might be a little busy because everybody went away last year. And the same for me. I saw a lot of family last year. So I'm like, okay, I'm good now.
For those individuals who are trying to navigate like the holidays in a positive space, do you have any tips for them about movement, managing, and I guess like dealing with body image issues?
It's a tough one. I think, between holidays, especially when we kind of live in this scarcity mindset, and I mean that in terms of like being in like a diet phase. Suddenly, when you get into the holidays, it's especially like this in the UK, and I think I've seen it a bit here, that suddenly when the holidays come around, that everything's in abundance. There's so much of kind of celebration, and what comes with that is, drinking and food and memorable times with family, etc. And so I find that when we've been in such a scarcity mindset, then we swing the other way, right? And we're like, oh, I need it all now because I'm only going to have access to this kind of food or whatever at Christmas. And actually, I think it's easier said than done, but kind of having this mindset of, okay, if I want to eat, I can eat this food, whatever it is, and try not have this scarcity mindset around it, that I have to have it now because I can't ever have it again. It's something that I try and work on with a lot of clients, is that, of course, you can have the food. You don't need to worry about, it's easier said than done, but like weight gain or what someone's going to say about what's on your plate, etc. And that's another side to holidays, I think, is kind of navigating family. Depending on one's family, I think many of us have had those situations where family members comment on what's on our plate or how we look that year, or, whether it's a compliment or not. And either way, that's a very hard one to navigate, is family. So there's one side of it is like how we ourselves are around food and things like that, but it's also how we work with seeing family members. And that's a really individual kind of approach. I have a certain way that I am with my family, but that's not going to be how it works with other folk in their family. And so I think it kind of comes from how one feels, if they want to be heard and say, you know what, you don't need to comment on what's on my plate, versus just getting by and knowing that you're probably not going to see them again for another year or for another few months, and just getting by as unscathed as possible.
I think it's challenging with the comments too, because I think sometimes, especially with family, you just feel like you can't win. I mean, as a dietitian, and just as a person, like I've heard and I've gotten comments about, wow, you have so much on your plate. And then I've also heard the other side where it's like, wow, you don't have enough on your plate. And it's like, what do you want from me? Like what am I supposed to do here? Like, you just can't win. So I loved how you said, like, sometimes we're just trying to survive, like just try to scale through. But then like every single family and every single person is going to be different. So just navigating it on an individualized and a personalized level.
Yeah. And I think, I've had this very similar times where it's like, oh, wow, I thought you were the healthy one, and you're eating that, and you're like, and sometimes I'll say something, and then sometimes I'm like, just let it go, just get through it, it's okay, it doesn't matter, like water off a duck's back. And then there are other times it's like, oh Lord, like you don't eat a lot. I'm like, which one is it? Like, and you can't win in those instances, and it's about what boundary is going to feel best for you. Is it saying something because I've been there and I've said things, or is it like, let that one go? Like, and there's no right or wrong, and whatever you do, I've learned is right for you in that moment.
Yep, we're all kind of in it together, and I think just like having the conversation about it and like being transparent about it and being vulnerable about it is best, because I think sometimes we feel like it's only us. So continuing to shed light on it and to kind of just share all of our individualized experiences. So we have a couple more questions for you. This is some of the questions that we ask everybody, but the podcast is called Eat More Carbs. So I would love to hear what your favorite carbohydrate is.
Oh, great question. My mum is Irish, and it would be a disservice if I didn't say the potato, a good white potato. It's so versatile. I saw somebody posted the other day and they were like, the potato is the real MVP because that is such a versatile carb. And I was like, you know what? It absolutely is. I quickly followed it up with rice is also an incredibly versatile carb, but I think I'm going to go with potato.
What's your favorite way to eat a potato?
Oh, I could go any way. I could do mashed, I could do air fried, I can do like I love a baked potato. If my mum listens to this, she'll be very proud of me for saying that. Grew up on baked potatoes. Yeah, I could probably do a potato in it. I'd never say no to any kind of potato.
I'm unfortunately not a potato person. I'm so sad, but I know lots of people that are. My sister always jokes, you're either a potato person or you're not a potato person. So if you're a potato person, then I love it. But hey, also everybody's different, right? Now I just feel bad that I slammed the potato, but it's great. What about your favorite pre-workout?
Good question.
Fuel. Sorry, favorite pre-workout fuel.
Good question. I typically work out like quite early in the morning, so I'm not like, I won't have, controversially, I won't have a meal before I work out, but that's mainly because it's like less than an hour between like eyes open to working out, and I don't like to have like an extremely like full stomach when I'm working out. It will probably be, and this again can be, I think these are in the potato category, whether you either love them or you hate them. I will normally have like a couple of dates before I work out. I know some people really don't like dates, but I, very similar to the potato, could like smash through a good like few dates in a go. So I typically will do something like that, something quite like carby and like quick sugar kind of release. What I would tend to do pre-workout. I'm not a big pre-workout energy drink kind of person, and I don't, controversially, I don't actually drink coffee, so I tend to stay clear from those kind of energy boosters, I guess you call them.
That was the correct answer because we're very anti-stimulant or energy drink on this podcast. Yes. So you passed the test even if you didn't know there was a test.
So glad about that.
Great answer.
I've had my fair, I back in the day, I was flight attendant, and so I've done my fair share of energy concoctions along the way, and they, like Red Bull, that sort of thing, gives me absolute shudders. In fact, the other week we tried Kim Kardashian's new energy drink with Alani Nu. As soon as I opened the can, I was like, oh God, like the flashback of like, smelled like Red Bull. I was like, this is very uncomfortable. Hard no on energy drinks.
They have that unique smell.
Yeah, why do they all smell like that?
Very sweet and just, oh no, it was not good.
What's your favorite post-workout fuel?
Normally breakfast of sort, and it will always, not me trying to get points, but it will always be like carbs, fat, protein. It will always make sure, and that's kind of my trick for myself generally when it comes to a meal. You know, I think like we talked about, many of us come from kind of a disordered eating background where we think, oh, shouldn't have carbs, shouldn't have fat if you grew up in the 90s, like, you know, that sort of thing. So it's kind of my trick. Just to remind myself, if I'm making a meal, it's got to have like all three. And if it doesn't have all three, then it's a snack. It's not a meal. So that's kind of my way around that. So it might be like cereal with protein and yogurt, or it might be eggs and like a toast and a protein shake, something like that. I do partake in protein shakes, I will say that, but that's only because I really like the taste of my protein powder.
You also get 10 points. That was a great answer. The points are earned, even if you weren't trying to go for them. More points for you.
I'm winning.
I love that when you say that if it doesn't have all those things, that's a snack, that's not a meal, because that's so true. And I think a lot of people like count their snacks as meals or, you know, things like that. And then we're chronically underfueled. Really, we should be looking for all the components on our plate, regardless of when we're eating that meal.
Totally. I've loved and hated on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen it, like the girl dinner trend. Part of me's loved it because it's not the aesthetic Instagram smoothie bowl, you know, in Venice Beach, whatever. It's not, and I love it for that, but kind of on that same thread, 9 times out of 10 when you look at them, they're snacks. Like, they're not like, I'm not looking at somebody's actual dinner here. I'm looking at like some saltines, cheese and salami, and that's a nice snack, but it's not, I'm not looking at dinner here. So I've got a love-hate with that trend.
We do too.
We feel the same way
amongst friends.
I love though, like just like Jenna mentioned, like we love that like protein, carb, fat. I even got like a question yesterday where it was like, how do I know if my like post-workout fuel is my post-workout fuel or if it's breakfast? Obviously the answer is it depends. It could be both. Maybe they need to be separate, but I do think, especially women, a lot of the time we see them underfueling after training because I guess they're underestimating how much their body really needs. And then we're big shoe people, or trying to be big shoe people, so we always ask our guests what your favorite pair of kicks are so we can get ideas of shoes.
I'm going to use this segment as the exact same thing because I'm on the hunt for some new kicks, and I am so overwhelmed by how many there are out there. And I feel like every time I click on one pair of trainers to look at. Then Instagram ads is like, what about this? What about, and then like attacks me on all fronts. I have a pair of Adidas or Adidas, however one likes to say it. They are, I think they're Boosts. They might be Boosts actually, but they are like the 100% recycled ocean plastic type. I actually, full transparency, just bought them because I liked the color scheme, but the added bonus was that they were made from 100% plastic. But I know that I need to embark on like the what do you call them, like the wide toe box train like sneakers, the ones that are like kind of barefoot sneakery things, because I have very wide feet, but I'm very overwhelmed and I would take any recommendations of any kind of kicks at this point because I am in the market.
I have no advice. I wear Hokas, which are not good training shoes. They're good running shoes. And I usually will be like kind of barefoot when I do like weights and stuff because I just train in my garage. But
I'm like the last person to ask for this. I think in the last week I've bought like 3 different pairs of shoes and I try them on and then I'm nervous because I have very narrow feet. So I always am afraid that if I have a shoe that does have a wide toe box, I get blisters because my toes move too much. So someone recommended that I try, I think, oh gosh, I hope I say the Nike Pegasus. Is that an actual shoe? Okay. Someone recommended I try that because it is made for a narrower foot, but I still don't think that's a training shoe. I'd say that's probably more of a running shoe.
I'm with you. Riley, I tend to like train myself in like bare feet, but like you say, I train in my garage. And then I will be in probably Adidas trainers when with clients or whatever. But I actually used to really like the Nike Pegasus.
Okay.
I used to wear those, even though I've got very wide feet. So I don't know that they'd work. Maybe try them. But I did. I really liked those for a long time.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try them. It's like multiple positive reviews in the span of 3 days. So.
And if anybody has recommendations, we all need help.
Oh yeah.
Please drop all the shoe recs in the comments. On today's podcast, we talked a lot about fitness and functionality and movement. We also talked a little bit about the things that we like and maybe don't love about Halloween. When it comes to navigating difficult conversations with family members, remember to respect your own space and choose what feels best for you. Laura, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. For folks that want to follow along with you on social media, how can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me. I have loved this. I can be found on TikTok at Laura Ghiacy, which is Ghiacy, or I am on Instagram, which is Laura_Ghiacy, Ghiacy, because apparently there's another Laura Ghiacy on Instagram that doesn't have the underscore. But yeah, so that's where I am.
Perfect. We will leave all of your links in the comments below so that people can find you on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you again so much for being on the podcast today. If anyone listening does have questions for Riley and I, please leave them in the comments, or you can find us on Instagram. We're at the Eat More Carbs podcast. You can find Riley at Riley Beatty Nutrition, and you can find me at Jenna Fisher Nutrition. Make sure you rate, subscribe, and review to the podcast. And as always, thank you for listening, and remember to eat more carbs.